Hey there, let's pull back the curtain on something you do every single day, something you probably don't even think about, but is absolutely vital. You know the drill. You turn on the faucet, you fill up a glass, and you drink. Simple, right? But that simple act is actually the grand finale of a massive, invisible, and honestly, an incredibly complex journey. So let's dive in and see exactly how it all works. To really get a feel for how your water becomes safe to drink, or potable as it's called, we're going to follow one single drop of water. We'll trace its path from its natural source through a whole series of purification steps, all the way to you. Okay, so our journey starts here. It could be a river, a lake, or maybe an underground aquifer. This is the raw material, the very beginning for all of our drinking water. Now, the first thing you have to understand is that natural water is never just pure H2O. No way. Our little water droplet starts out carrying all sorts of passengers. We're talking dissolved minerals from rocks, tiny microbes, little particles of dirt, leaves, you name it. It's kind of like a natural soup, and before anyone can drink it, it needs a serious cleanup. So, what exactly are we trying to remove? Well, the official term for all these unwanted hitchhikers is contaminants. Let's take a closer look at what that really means, because it's important. A contaminant is basically anything in the water that isn't, well, a water molecule. I know, that sounds super broad, and it is. But the key here is that public health agencies set incredibly strict limits on these things to make sure they pose absolutely no risk to us. These contaminants really fall into four main categories. You've got your biological threats, right? Things like bacteria and viruses that can make you really sick. Then there are chemical threats, which could come from industrial runoff or even natural deposits in the earth. You also have physical particles, silt, dirt, the stuff that makes water cloudy, and yeah, even radiological elements that can sometimes be found in certain rock formations. The whole treatment process is designed to tackle every single one of these. And this brings our water droplet to the main event, the water treatment plant. You should think of it like a multi-stage obstacle course, or a gauntlet, engineered to strip away every last unwanted particle and microbe. The process has four absolutely crucial stages. First up, coagulation and flocculation. This is where special chemicals are added that act kind of like magnets, making tiny particles of dirt clump together into bigger, heavier pieces called flock. Then comes sedimentation, which is just a fancy word for settling. Gravity does all the work here, pulling that heavy flock down to the bottom. After that, the much clearer water on top moves on to filtration, where it passes through layers of sand, gravel, and charcoal. And finally, the last line of defense, disinfection, to zap any remaining microscopic threats. This brings us to a super important concept, turbidity. That's just the scientific term for how cloudy or murky water is. You can see the difference here, right? The water on the left is full of particles. This high turbidity is a big problem because those little particles can actually act like shields for dangerous microbes, protecting them from that final disinfection step. So getting the water crystal clear isn't just about making it look nice, it's an absolutely critical safety requirement. So, why is that final disinfection step so incredibly vital? Get this. A single teaspoon of raw, untreated lake water can contain over 1 million bacteria. That is the scale of what we're up against. And the results of that final step? They are just dramatic. The disinfection stage, usually using a chemical like chlorine, is unbelievably effective. Chlorine essentially attacks and destroys the cell walls of bacteria and other microbes, just completely neutralizing them. It takes that massive bacterial load we just talked about and crushes it down to virtually zero, making the water biologically safe to drink. And it's not just about removing everything. It's about getting the levels of what's left down to incredibly safe numbers. For chemicals, these numbers are called maximum contaminant levels, or MCLs. These are specific, legally enforceable standards for stuff like the lead or arsenic you see here. We're talking parts per billion. To put that into perspective for you, 1 part per billion is like one single drop of ink in an entire Olympic-sized swimming pool. That's the level of precision we're dealing with, and these numbers are the very bedrock of water safety. But the journey isn't over when the water leaves the plant. Not even close. Now it has to travel through the last mile, a vast, hidden network of pipes that can stretch for hundreds, sometimes even thousands of miles, just to reach your community. Protecting the water on this final leg is a huge challenge. To keep it safe, a tiny, carefully measured amount of disinfectant actually stays in the water. It's there to handle any potential contamination inside the pipes themselves. On top of that, water utilities are constantly monitoring the water at different points all over the system, checking for things like pressure changes or breaks that could let contaminants sneak in. It's a continuous 24/7 process of vigilance, all the way to your home. And so, after this long, complex, and meticulously engineered journey, our water droplet, now purified, filtered, and protected, finally arrives at its destination, your glass. And let's not understate just how important this is. This entire process we've just followed, well, according to the World Health Organization, it's one of the greatest public health achievements in modern history, period. It has saved countless lives and prevented just an untold amount of suffering from waterborne diseases. So the next time you turn on that tap, maybe just take a second to appreciate the incredible journey that water took to you. This invisible, intricate system is a quiet miracle of modern engineering in public health. And it really raises a final question for all of us. What happens when we start to take a system we so fundamentally depend on for granted?